Good morning.
Bom dia,
Good afternoon,
boa tarde,
colleagues.
colegas.
My name is Norberto
Meu
Moretti. I'm
nome é
the
Norberto Moretti. Eu sou
representative of Brazil to
o.
ICAO. I'd like, first of all, as I said, it's quite timely that Andrea hold this organization, this event, and I would also like to commend Andrea for choosing the subject of this panel, because of course innovation has been one of the key drivers of this process in Brazil, and ICAO is doing considerable work in terms of innovation. We have here 3 members of the small group on innovation. For those not very familiar with the workings of the Council, working groups are, as the name says, a reduced number of permanent representatives dedicated to one particular key subject on the agenda of the Council. So our guests today and panelists are all members of this small group. The group is led by Dr. Shefali Juneja, who has been very kind in accepting the invitation, but also Ms. Poe and Mr. Aguado have all been very active participants in this group. And they will have the chance to share with us the good work that is being undertaken, and I think even more importantly, the work that is being prepared to be undertaken in the near future. So without taking much more of your time, let me just introduce our panelists. I would need a whole panel to present their CVs because they have they have worked a lot in many issues, but doing some injustice to their CVs, I will highlight the following. Dr. Juneja, as I said, she is the chair of the small group on innovation, but she's also, of course, the permanent representative of India on the ICAO Council. Dr. Juneja was joint secretary in the Ministry of Civil Aviation. She's been the chief bilateral air services negotiator for India for 6 years. And you all know how difficult it can be to negotiate air services agreements sometimes. So she excelled in there as well. She was a member of the board of directors in Air India, and she holds an MBA on aviation management and certificate course from McGill University here in aviation law here in Madrid. In Montreal. You see, Victor? In Montreal. And as I said, she's the chair of the small group on innovation. Ms. Poe is the permanent representative of Singapore on the ICAO Council, and she has over 30 years of experience in many fields in aviation, and also a lot in airports, all sorts of aspects of airports, airport investments, airport business planning and implementation, airport capacity, airport management, airport marketing emissions. So really an expert on airports and several other relevant issues. She attended the Oxford Air Transport Program at Oxford University, of course, and has lectured at the Singapore Aviation Academy. And finally, Mr. Aguado. Mr. Aguado has been almost everything at ICAO. He doesn't like being remembered that he's been here for a long time, but that's not a bad thing. Good, Victor, it's a good thing. So Victor is the permanent representative of Spain on the ICAO Council, and has held many positions, has chaired many committees here. He was the Director General of Eurocontrol. I don't have to present Eurocontrol to those attending this event. He was president of the Air Navigation Commission in Montreal for 4 consecutive terms, so quite an expert in technical issues as well. He holds a Master of Science in Management degree from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. So everyone, please enjoy, as I will, the knowledge, the experience of our colleagues sitting on this panel today. We will start with Dr. Shefali Juneja. And I would remind colleagues that in principle, you have 10 minutes for your presentations. Thank you very much once again. Dr. Juneja, please.
Thank you, Ambassador Norberto. Obrigada. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Thank you so much for inviting me to share the work that ICAO is doing on innovation, which is really a very, very critical subject in post-COVID world. The writing is clear on the wall that the time for change is now, and as we have got us, what has got us here won't get us there. We are currently seeing a new era in aviation as the speed of change and rate of innovations will be faster in the coming years. Seamless flight experience, interoperability, data-powered and digitalized automated airports and airline experiences, sustainabilities, are some of the key themes which will create what is known as the future aviation. Design and type of flight vehicles, whether it is the UAS or the RPAS, powered differently vehicles, the electric propulsion or hybrid mobility, operated differently vehicles like eVTOL, ultra long haul, supersonic vehicles, vertical air mobility, and commercial space transport would vastly transform the concept of air travel as we know today. The underpinning for our generation is to ensure safe skies with a robust, agile, and performance-based regulatory framework. The standards and the rule must be in place for the purpose and be the technology agnostic, providing openness and flexibility for new technological innovations in aviation vehicles, as well as in safety, efficiency, and security. The regulatory framework has to acknowledge the new and evolving approaches for mitigating the challenges, the new challenges, I would say, which will be cybersecurity, privacy, and public opinion. From the perspective of International Civil Aviation Organization, the indulgence in innovation is really based on Article 44 of the Convention, which states that the aims and objectives of ICAO are development of principles and techniques of international air navigation and fostering of planning and development of international air transport to meet the needs of the people. ICAO has in the past years organized multiple forums for innovation stock-taking and innovation fairs, subject-specific conferences to enable the member states to have an opportunity to not only share their experiences, but also know about the new innovations with its idea of no country left behind. ICAO recognizes the nature and the pace of innovations require regulators in national, regional, and global level to avail themselves of the new methodologies for timely evaluation of technological development. In the last ICAO assembly, which took place in 2019, there was an assembly resolution on innovation, A4027, which urged the member states to share with ICAO the experiences of innovation and also directed the ICAO Council to evolve processes of organization to keep pace with the innovation. The Assembly resolution directs ICAO Council to develop high-level policies and framework for timely development of global standards for improvement of safety, efficiency, and facilitation. It also directs the Council for establishing a high-level body with the industry to provide strategic advice on innovation. The ICAO Council organized the first inclusive dialogue with industry, which took place in June of this year, in which the CEOs of top industry verticals attended. In future, many such ICFs are planned, which will be touching on important innovations which will be hitting the air transport sector. Another such example of inclusive dialogue is what is called the Council's Aviation Recovery Task Force, which has done commendable work in restarting of aviation all over the world. Both my colleagues here, Eileen and Victor, have played a key role in CART, and I'm sure you will learn more about it during their intercourse with you. In this background, ICAO decided to set up a task force, a group on innovation with the involvement of the air navigation commissioners, industry representatives, as well as the senior management of ICAO. This small group has been working on trying to understand how innovation can be brought in ICAO. Innovation, as a word would say, is like a vast ocean. It means differently to different people. The first important work of this group was to understand the relevance of innovation for ICAO, to understand how innovation will not only enhance the working, but also there would be certain disrupting innovations for which they will need to create firewalls. This small group has decided to identify 6 important building blocks for its work ahead. The first is understanding the priorities for innovations relevant to the civil aviation organization and to the aviation ecosystem. The second building block is to understand what ICAO needs to do, what it has already done so far in involving the industry and in trying to bring into its own circumference different innovations that are taking place. In spite of that, it still needs to do much more. So there is clearly a need for a gap analysis to understand what has to be the priority for ICAO's strategic objectives in the short, medium, and long term. The third important building block is to identify the innovators, to develop an interface with the innovators, to open ICAO for stakeholders who are not only from the aviation background, but innovators who are outside the innovation to the aviation background, the old as well as the new. This will enable an opportunity to provide them awareness of the working of ICAO. It will also help us in understand for ICAO to understand how there is need to understand what is the new innovations that are likely to change the world of aviation. There is importance to develop this interface with the innovators at ICAO level, as well as at the level of the states. Each of the member states need to have such a mechanism for interacting with the innovators. The fourth important building block of this group is to develop a comprehensive roadmap or a framework for collaboration with industry. There is need for identification through a screening process as to which are the mature technologies or mature innovations that are likely to change the course of aviation in the future, and to set the time frame for their entry into service. Of course, this would be a live document, a live roadmap, which need to be adjusted with the changing times. How ICAO needs to play a pioneering role in bringing forward such innovations which are critical for air transport in future will be possible through this roadmap. The fifth important building block that the group has identified is to study how to improve ICAO's standard making procedure, to explore the implementation of the standards and diplomatic practices through innovative approaches such as the risk-based trials as well as the procedure of direct submissions to ICAO. Last but not the least, the group has an understanding that innovation needs to have an innovative culture, an innovation team. There is need for an organizational transformation at the ICAO so as to have focal points, innovation focal points, who will act as incubators for encouraging the innovation in its working processes. There is need to change the human resource policies. There is need to change the way we recruit the talent, to have talent which will foster innovative thinking as well as processes. There's need to have a business plan which will have the right resources and the right finances to encourage innovation throughout ICAO. This group intends to work continuously till it is able to develop a framework for a vision, a policy framework on innovation, and in the future, it will continue to interact not only with the industry outside ICAO, but also within ICAO with the senior management. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shefali. Right on the mark. Congratulations for being very strict to the 10-minute slot. Thank you very much for that. I will now turn to